You read the title. First fight is Anthony Hernandez versus Roman Kopylov. One thing I noticed is from the jump, Anthony Hernandez is not afraid to put that pace on you, put that pressure on you. He may start off throwing a few shots at your face and then taking you down or attempting to take you down immediately. He'll proceed to do this throughout every single round there is, and when he's on the ground, he's not just settling there making it boring, he's actively advancing position or attacking submissions or ground and pound. So with this being said, what you gotta have to beat Anthony Hernandez, at least from what I've seen, I may be wrong, and I would love for someone to correct me if I am wrong, but what I think you need to beat Anthony Hernandez is, first, above all else, great cardio, because Anthony Hernandez is going to put that pace on you. You gotta have the cardio to keep up. You gotta have either good grappling to get back to your feet, or you be able to overwhelm him in the grappling department, or good takedown defense to where even when he takes you down, or attempts to at least, he fails on all the attempts he makes, which is not an easy thing to do. You gotta have good striking, because from what I've seen, Anthony Hernandez's defense is not as good as it should be, honestly. But with that good striking, you have to be aggressive towards Anthony Hernandez. You have to be able to push him back. And I don't think Roman Kopylov is going to be the person to do that, because he likes to be lenient. Even when Roman Kopylov puts pressure on you, he's not throwing a bunch of strikes to overwhelm you or throwing enough strikes to force you to shoot for that takedown and waste your own energy. Roman Kopylov, however, can catch Anthony Hernandez with a counter. Like I said, his defense is not that good, and Roman Kopylov's takedown defense is decent enough to where he might be able to fend off some of the takedowns early from Alexander Hernandez, which would give him enough time to capitalize on those failed takedowns and possibly win the fight. But I think it would have to be early. I know a lot of y'all are riding with Roman Kopylov, and that's fine. I'm doing something similar to that, but I'll show you later in the video where that is. I think my gut is telling me to go with Alexander Hernandez. I think it's going to be by decision, but that first round is going to be extremely shaky for Alexander Hernandez. If he can get past it, his chances of winning shoot up exponentially, because we've seen Roman Kopylov gas out. Well, more start to gas. I don't think he was fully gassed out, and the person he was fighting was more gassed out than he was. So that being Albert Duraev, I'm sure you get the point. Next fight is Henry Cejudo versus Merab Dvalishvili. For sake of this video and the fact that I'm horrible with names, I'm just gonna call him Merab, alright? Right at the gate, I think Merab overwhelms Henry Cejudo. Now, don't get me wrong, I think Cejudo is probably the better striker, the harder hitter, the hardest person for Merab to take down, and probably the smartest fighter Merab has faced up to this point. The problem is when you introduce the volume that Merab puts on every single one of his opponents and the cardio to keep it up, to the point where in his last fight, everybody thought Merab is literally a machine and his nickname fits him perfectly, because there's no way he's human doing all the stuff that he's doing. And although I said Henry Cejudo is the better striker and the better wrestler, the harder person to take down, I do think in this fight, none of that would matter, because Merab isn't trying to take you down to control you. Merab isn't trying to throw strikes at you to knock you out. Merab is simply trying to overload your data, giving you constant pressure. Something is constantly being fired your direction, and you have to think on the fly. You have to be able to have fast twitch muscles to compete with Merab, and you gotta have the cardio to keep up with him for however long the fight goes, because he will not stop. So although when it comes to who's better at what, and the fact that I would give most of those categories to Cejudo, I don't think it matters in this fight due to the styles. The way for Henry Cejudo to win this, in my opinion, just the way that I'm seeing it at least, I think Cejudo would have to make this a very boring fight, unfortunately. Henry Cejudo is going to have to pull out that wrestler in him and control Merab for however long the fight is, 3 or 5 rounds. I didn't really see. It's 3 rounds. But because of how explosive, how strong, and the cardio that Merab possesses, I think he should get this done by decision. I don't think he can finish Cejudo, but he can most definitely overwhelm Cejudo. On to the next one. We have Jeff Neal versus Ian Gary. Now, this is one of those that could go either way. Jeff Neal is skilled, he's tough, he hits hard, he has great boxing skills and super good takedown defense. Oh, I don't think this fight is touching the ground unless someone gets knocked down. Ian Gary is a very dangerous opponent in his own right as well. He is a very excellent and accurate striker with good leg, head, and body kick, and he can adjust on the fly. All of what I just named will have to be used against Jeff Neal in order to win this fight. When Ian Gary is the one pressuring, he likes to leave himself open when throwing his own strikes, so countering him could be a way to beat him. But the problem is, if you're throwing a counter, you also have to watch for the counters coming back your direction. So that is a very high risk, high reward game plan. A weakness Jeff Neal has is the fact that this is a taller opponent yet again. Last time we saw him go against a taller opponent, he had a problem with kicks and knees to the body. Ian Gary can definitely capitalize on that using a similar game plan to Shavkat or enhancing that game plan, which is something I believe Ian Gary can do. And he must do, because in this fight, if it goes longer than 1 round, he needs to be investing in the body of Jeff Neal. Because later on down the line, if you hit Jeff Neal with enough body shots, he might gas out. Last fight, he was a little overweight. I'm pretty sure he did miss weight against Shavkat, so that might have something to do with it. But body shots are no joke, and we all know that. For Ian Gary, we all know about the left hook that Song Kenan hit him with. That left hook was not just a lucky shot. When Ian Gary is pressuring you, sometimes he forgets about his defense. His hands will start to linger, or he'll be so focused on attacking that he forgets about defending. And Jeff Neal can definitely capitalize on this because his left hook is one of his most dangerous weapons. Plus, with the power advantage on Jeff Neal's side, I do think Ian Gary will have to be very careful with the way he approaches this fight, because if anybody can knock Ian Gary out, it is Jeff Neal or Gilbert Burns. So this is what I was talking about earlier, because I'm going to ride with my boy Jeff Neal. I think Jeff Neal can definitely pull this off, but if you are a betting person, I will tell you to bet on Ian Gary. He is the safer pick here. He is the safer pick in my opinion because he has more tools to win, and he uses those tools. The jab can keep Jeff Neal at bay, and if Jeff Neal tries to get too aggressive, he can get countered. And although I do give Jeff Neal that power advantage, that don't mean Ian Gary don't pack a punch, even though most of people don't like him now. Plus, the kicks could really hurt Jeff Neal, if not knock Jeff Neal out. So if you bet, Ian Gary, but me, I want Jeff Neal to win, and I'm gonna stand on that. Next on the fight, we have Robert Whittaker versus Paulo Costa. Now, this video is being made very early, so I don't even think this fight will happen. We got to see what happens. Everybody has to hope Paulo Costa doesn't pull out of yet another fight, and if he does, I think he's getting cut. But if this fight does make it past the scales and to the octagon, I think Robert Whittaker dominates. I can safely say Robert Whittaker is no longer in his prime, and I don't think he was really in his prime on his last couple fights. Relax, calm down, I'm joking. But in this fight, I don't see anything Paulo Costa has to offer for Robert Whittaker besides maybe a lucky jab or him catching Robert Whittaker while Rob's being aggressive, which when Rob is being aggressive, sometimes he throws his defense out the window. But I think Rob is going to be too smart, too sharp, too fast, too technical, and he has the ability to mix it up. Now, this is all on top of the fact that he looks like he did in the fight before the DDP fight, but if his chin is gone, I think Paulo Costa has a chance to knock him out here, even though Paulo doesn't really have the power people really hype him up to have. Yeah, I have Robert Whittaker, though, probably by a late head kick finish or a decision. And the main event on the card, hopefully this fight doesn't fall apart since I'm making this video so early, but Alexander Volkanovski versus Ilia Topuria. Believe me or don't believe me is your choice. I think this fight could go either way. Ilia Topuria is extremely well-rounded. He's very good on the feet. He's very good on the ground. He's very good in the clinch. Alexander Volkanovski is also very good on the feet. Volka's also good on the ground. He's probably smarter than Ilia Topuria. He definitely has the experience on his fight, fighting much tougher opponents than Ilia Topuria has fought to this point. Topuria has the power advantage, but I would say Volkanovski has the speed advantage. Now I'm going to start off with Topuria here. Topuria is very good on the feet. He has excellent boxing ability with an iron chin. The problem that I see with Topuria, though, is the fact that a simple leg kick can interrupt his entire plan. This was shown by Josh Emmett even when Topuria was dominating. Every single time Josh Emmett decided to throw out a leg kick, it would interrupt Topuria completely until later in the fight where Topuria knew that he had him on the ropes and he could just beat Emmett all the way around the octagon at this point. Also, Topuria has a very good jab, but he likes to throw too many hooks and overhands, and where I think Volkanovski can capitalize on this is his jab to leg kick combination that he always throws. The leg kicks are going to be very important in this fight, and the fact that Volkanovski moves around a bunch, it's going to make it even harder for Topuria to land the big shots that he wants to land, because Volkanovski will not be a standing target like most of Topuria's other opponents. Volkanovski also has shown that he has the cardio to keep up a high pace with this kind of game plan, which is the game plan I think he should come in with. I don't think he can beat Topuria on the ground, but I do think if Topuria is to take the fight to the ground, he can survive there, especially with, surviving with Islam Makhachev on your back. On the flip side, though, Volkanovski can be caught when he's getting too aggressive. Volkanovski can also be pulled into exchanges, which is very dangerous, especially against someone like Topuria. The last time we saw someone effectively pressure Volkanovski to the fence and force him to exchange with him was Chad Mendes, which is a long time ago. And Chad Mendes was able to drop Volkanovski doing this. Plus, Topuria has a very deadly ground game. Now, I'm not saying Topuria is better on the ground than Islam Makhachev. What I am saying, however, is that if this fight gets taken to the ground, Volkanovski is in a world of trouble. Topuria is very smooth on the ground. He knows exactly what he's doing. He knows exactly where he's going, and he's very physical down there. He could make the choice to rain down ground and pound on you, or he could just submit you, or he could do a combination of both. This is going to be an extremely tough fight for both guys, but if I had to pick who I think is going to win, I'm going to say Ilya Topuria. Now, this is one of those instances where if you bet, I will say bet on Volkanovski. He's just a safer pick, but in my opinion, I think Topuria can pull this off. He can cut off the cage, force Volkanovski to exchange with him, knock Volkanovski down, chase him to the ground, and finish him there, whether it be by ground and pound or by submission. I'm just worried about Volkanovski's chin because he's coming off of a KO loss, and I do feel that he's coming back a little bit too soon against a dangerous, powerful, well-rounded striker and grappler in Ilya Topuria. The main problem I have in seeing how this fight would play out is I don't know how Ilya Topuria will deal with the leg kicks, but I guess in this fight we'll find out. So I hope you guys enjoyed. That is the breakdown of the main card only for UFC 298. If you did enjoy, make sure to subscribe to the channel. If you enjoy my content, you can also subscribe to my other social medias right here. Anyway, how do y'all think these fights will play out? Who do you think will win? What are your predictions? Let me know down in the comments, and I will be reading.